the dark side of humanity, the part that sends shivers down your spine and makes you question everything. We're talking about kids, but not just any kids. These are the kids that took innocence and twisted it into something monstrous. These are the kids that committed unspeakable acts, acts that would make even the most hardened adult cringe. These are the most evil kids in the history of mankind. Picture this, 1968, England. It's a time of change, of revolution, but in the shadows, something sinister is brewing. This is the story of Mary Bell, an 11-year-old girl with a chilling secret. Mary Bell wasn't just any child. Behind her innocent eyes lurked a darkness no one could have predicted. On May 25, 1968, she lured a 4-year-old boy named Martin Brown into an abandoned house. There she strangled him to death. Can you imagine the horror, the confusion? A child so young committing such a heinous act. But Mary Bell's reign of terror wasn't over. Just 2 months later she struck again, this time with a friend. They strangled 3-year-old Brian Howe, leaving his body posed, a chilling reminder of their evil. What drove Mary Bell to commit such unspeakable acts? Was it a broken home, a troubled mind, or something more sinister, something buried deep within her soul? Let's travel back in time to the 1870s, to the dark, cobblestone streets of Boston. This is the story of Jesse Pomeroy, a name that would forever be etched in the city's history as the Boston Boy Fiend. Jesse's reign of terror began at a young age. By the time he was 12, he had already tortured and mutilated 7 young boys. But Jesse wasn't satisfied with just inflicting pain. He craved something more, something darker. At the age of 14, Jesse committed his first murder, brutally killing a 10-year-old boy named Horace Millen. The details of the crime were so gruesome, so savage, that they sent shockwaves through the city. Jesse Pomeroy was eventually caught and sentenced to life in prison. He spent the rest of his days locked away, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can reside within a child. Chapter 3, Jon Venables and Robert Thompson, the killers of James Bulger. This chapter takes us to England, 1993. The world watched in horror as 2 10-year-old boys, Jon Venables and Robert Thompson, committed an act so evil, so depraved that it defied explanation. Their victim was 2-year-old James Bulger. Jon and Robert lured James away from a shopping center, leading him on a terrifying walk for miles. They subjected him to unimaginable cruelty, beating him, torturing him before finally taking his life. The image of little James Bulger, captured on CCTV footage as he was led away by his killers, became seared into the public's consciousness. It was a haunting reminder of the vulnerability of innocence in the face of pure evil. The trial of Jon Venables and Robert Thompson gripped the nation. How could 2 children be capable of such monstrous acts? Were they born evil, or were they products of a broken system? Chapter 4, Eric Smith, the 13-year-old murderer. Our journey into the darkest corners of childhood takes us to 1993, to a small town in New York. This is the story of Eric Smith, a 13-year-old boy who committed a crime so cold-blooded, it shocked the nation. Eric Smith had a troubled past. Bullied relentlessly for his appearance, he became withdrawn and angry, harboring a deep-seated rage that would eventually boil over. On August 2, 1993, Eric saw his chance for revenge. He lured 4-year-old Derek Roby into the woods, promising him candy and toys. But Eric had no intention of playing games. He brutally murdered Derek, smashing his head with a rock and sexually assaulting him. What drove Eric Smith to commit such a horrific act? Was it revenge, or was it something more sinister, a darkness that had taken root in his soul? Chapter 5, Graham Young, the Teacup Poisoner. This chapter takes us on a chilling journey into the mind of Graham Young, a boy whose fascination with poison turned deadly. From a young age, Graham was obsessed with death, with poisons and their effects. He began experimenting on his family, slipping small doses of poison into their food and drinks. His stepmother fell victim to his twisted experiments, dying a slow and agonizing death. Still, Graham's thirst for knowledge, for control over life and death, remained unquenched. He continued his experiments in prison, poisoning inmates and even prison officers with his toxic concoctions. Graham Young's story is a terrifying reminder that evil can take many forms, even hiding behind a seemingly innocent fascination. These stories are a stark reminder of the darkness that can reside in even the youngest of minds. The children we've discussed today committed acts so horrific, so evil, that they defy explanation. But perhaps that's the scariest part of all. The fact that there are no easy answers, no simple explanations for the depths of human depravity.